Is my background okay? I can't tell anymore.
Your background is perfect.
A bit messy, but
I got to turn you up a little bit.
are you ready? Are
I'm
you good to
ready.
go?
Good to
Okay.
go.
Okay. I know that contrast, the good and the bad, it comes with a package of being on Earth, but is so much suffering necessary?
God, that's such a hard question to answer for me as a person and respond how they're responding because I don't want to. I
Do it, please.
hate it. Yeah, yes.
It's just,
And I hate saying it, because this is the hardest part about what I do, Sadie. It's like I talk to people all the time that are grieving and sad and have the most horrible things happen. Like think about the Holocaust. Like how could you say that those things are meant to happen and understand that? I mean, I talk to so many grieving parents. I talk to so many grieving people. Like, how do you possibly say to somebody in horrific ways too that they've had things go down, whether they're alive or not? It's like,
it is difficult. I mean, but I want to know, like, even if it's yes, even if the answer is yes, then what's the
yeah,
justification for that? Like, what is the point of the suffering? There has to be a point, otherwise it's just cruel, right?
it's very, your dad's saying yes. He got very quiet. He says, yes, it is necessary for, he says, well, look at the patterns of behavior that you've accomplished. He's giving you an example of yourself in your lifetime, just from the experiences you've been through. He's saying it's very silly to think that you wouldn't learn a lesson from that, that you wouldn't evolve from that, that you wouldn't have a pattern of growth from that. And sometimes, yes, you learn bad behaviors and bad patterns because those were meant for you to experience too. So you have this blueprint coming into your life, and you have to energize yourself and be expecting that these things you chose to experience them. He's saying up here, it's all bliss, it's all happiness, it's all, he says, understandably and recognizably heaven. So you can't get those things. He's telling you not to cry. He's not saying it to hurt you. It's just very understandable and understated with how we are to think of these crises as not evolvement. So it doesn't even need to be huge world crises. It needs to be just what your soul recognizes as crisis to help you and help everybody. So he's saying these huge world tragedies, it was a plan. It was a plan for you to be, he's showing me 9/11 right now.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a heavy one. Uh, and I don't want to see it. I'm kind of like pushing the imagery away. So you're meant, you chose, he's saying, he's telling me sorry, because he knows I don't like seeing what he's showing me. Um, but it was part of your contract. And honoring your contract and honoring your soul's development is also part of your non-conditional human mind. Our minds are made to come in non-conditional.
What does that mean?
He's saying that means the condition of allowing your mind to experience these terms of your contract and just move through them and be expressful through them, to feel the feelings through them. You are supposed to manipulate your own mind. You are supposed to manipulate your own growth, but we help you.
Okay.
And Archangel Michael's chiming in. He's saying, we are here to help you. We are here to protect you. We are here for your soul's growth, for the better good of everybody. He's so positive. It's a nice feeling after what your dad was just doing to me. Like the frequency changes. Like I can feel the energy shifts when
Yeah.
Archangel is speaking to me. Your dad is not dark.
Mhm.
It's not a dark energy. He's showing me things that are upsetting to me.
I understand. Yeah. It triggers
Yeah.
you. I get it. You can ask him to stop doing that as well. I feel like he would respect that. Like, just say, limit it to words. Don't show me the images. Don't show me the feelings.
I try and do that. And as much
Yeah.
as I think I have this figured out about how I can control this, I just realize again that I just have no idea what I'm doing and I'm going with it and just trying to figure out how my boundaries go with it. It's
Yeah.
tough to learning like how to be a medium and how to even do this. It's like,
It's tough. It was a tough question. It was a tough question.
yeah.
But
He's saying,
sometimes,
but life's tough.
yeah, exactly. So sometimes we
And
need to hear those truths.
you need to hear those truths. And that's why your dad's bringing up how so many people feel stuff. He says the empathy, the empaths, the empathic. He says it's you feel the shift. You can feel the shift in vibration. It's your dad's wrapping it around to the music
Hmm.
and the flowers and how you can hear everything makes sound and everything has vibrational patterns. Kind of reminds me of the movie The Matrix. Have you seen The Matrix?
Mhm.
So the vibrational patterns in the atmosphere, it has a ripple effect. He's showing me a picture right now of your hands slapping water and the vibration from your hands, how it making waves. And that's what happens that we can feel across the earth. He's saying, look at the political, he's saying, well, Abbie, look at the political climate of your country. He says, he's pointing to you and saying, you can feel political climate. He says, you can feel the climate of the people and their needs and their wants and how they're flexing. He's saying their humanitarianism and their humanity across the world. The world impacts each other, not just on a small unit, but as a whole, vibrationally, which evolves it. So it's in all of the chaos, it's a good thing because you learn from it. He's saying, think about all the science, think about all the mathematicians. He's saying, think about all the mathematics, think about all the structure that comes from developing new structures, new societal world orders, new societal terms, new societal conditions. It's people that need to remember that your mind is unconditional until you make it conditional. That is your choice, he says. That is your human flex, is what he's saying, is that you have option, you have choice, and you're guided in different ways. And you have these contracts to come in and be these people and play this part and play this role. So much of it is your already character, but there is so much of it that is a character development, and you can call it a character development issue, or you can call it a character development process, he's saying.
That connects me to the next question, actually, pretty perfectly. And
He says, yes, I know.
oh, there you go. Thank you, Dad. So coming out of a traumatized situation, how do we begin to rehabilitate ourselves? Because when you're stuck in trauma, it's not a choice anymore. You're just repeating the same thing over and over again.
He's saying to recognize your naturalism, your natural accord, to not want to repeat the same cycle. Archangel Michael stepping back in.
Okay.
And he's saying your human instinct and human behavior is very much based on your experiences. There are forms of it that can be very creative and very fun and very light. And there are forms of it that can be very dark and greedy. He says this is where your free will is up to you to decide how you're going to evolve from these experiences. The best way to evolve from these experiences is by communicating with your loved ones, communicating with yourself about, is this the true essence of me? Is this who I want to be? Is this who I want to am? That was an interesting term. Want to am. He says, yes. He says, how do you want things to affect you? How do you want to think through this process? How do you want to check in with yourself? It's not just so much your reaction to things, it's your ability to recognize how you want to give yourself self check-ins so you can manipulate your own thought processes of behavior patterns to change in the future to help yourself develop.
Interesting. And does he have anything to say about self-care and self-love and how to put that in as well?
Your dad's interrupting and says, yes, yes, do it. Do it. He says, it's important, your dad. He's saying to start every day the same way. Your dad is very like structure. Structure
Okay.
is Archangel Michael is laughing because your dad is getting so into this and just like really just enjoying this, you know.
I'm
He's
glad.
love teaching.
You know that in life he was actually studying to be a teacher's teacher. Like he has a diploma to teach teachers.
He
Isn't
loves
that
to lecture.
crazy?
I can clearly tell that.
That's right.
I'm afraid to make fun of him again.
Okay,
I
okay.
wasn't making fun of him. I was just emphasizing.
I thought he would take jokes better as a spirit, but I guess that's just not his personality. It's
I
fine.
want to
It's
joke
fine.
again and say, is it a character flaw? But I don't want him to yell at me. He says, I heard that. And Sadie, you couldn't get away with shit.
Nope. Anyway, so I'll ask another question. Okay, we'll just go at it. Is it normal to be so anxious and depressed as we are at this time on Earth?
Okay, so Archangel Michael is pointing out what time on Earth. Every confusing chaos pattern in the world comes from another confusing chaos pattern in the world. He says your perception is your reality. Whatever reality you're living in is your life experience. So it doesn't need to be World War II and a nuclear bomb. It can be seeing your parents fight and how that is affecting you and how that is making you depressed and sometimes feel evil with yourself. He says people feel evil with themselves so regularly, and it's very trying to want to move and push you when you're so stubborn, because stubbornness, he says, is also free will. That's not a natural character coming into this lifetime that you are to completely be and have that be part of your natural behavior pattern in this lifetime. That's very much a character flaw and a trauma mechanism that you develop because you feel like you haven't been being heard. He says it can happen as easy as in utero when that baby is developing. If you're not conscious of your thoughts and the things you say when you're a baby, when your baby is developing, he just threw another huge like concept at me about how the baby can choose to not come in if you're not kind.
Hmm.
He's saying, yes, I'm talking about miscarriages. I'm talking about mishaps. It doesn't mean all the time that it's because you did something wrong or you're a bad person or you're thinking bad things. It doesn't mean that all the time. But there are occasions that can happen. And a soul can choose to not come in because it's just not the right circumstance, or they're too like, nope, can't do this one. Not all the time. Not all the time. And he keeps repeating, not all the time. You can choose your character as much as we can choose your character and help you develop that character. There are moments though, because I'm asking him, I'm like, is there times where before you come into this earth, is there times that being stubborn, and being depressed are part of not just societal influence, but like, is it part of your plan and your soul's journey? And he is saying absolutely. He's saying you can determine pre-life, pre-will emotionality that you'll experience to be able to help you make better judgments. That's what it's all for. It's not to, I want to come into this lifetime, he's saying, and be evil and negative and bad and thoughtless or depressed and sad and anxious and lonely. It's not meant to hurt you. It's meant to evolve you. And what are you going to do with that task? He's saying, I challenge you. What are you going to do with that resource of that experience to help other people? Are you going to take it and go the wrong way with it? He says, or are you going to move it and push your boundaries and see what positive can come out of it? It is not, he says, you have it all wrong. It's not about negative, it's about positive. He's saying like attracts like, attracts dislike. And you can be influenced by other energies around you. So it's true. Your dad's saying it's true. The statement, you are who your friends are. You are who your belief is. He's saying, look at me, for example, with the people that I was influenced by and how that much influenced and impacted me and my patterns of behavior and getting stuck in situations. We all learn from each other. And Archangel Michael is saying it's positive. There are positive. Life is meant to be joyous and learn and evolve in happy ways, not just to give you all grief, not just to make you feel sad. And he's talking to me directly because this is something that Archangel Michael, was coming through to me and was discussing with me, like, Abbie, like, you're not meant to just like always have all these trauma things. Like, you're gonna see life beautiful. Like, that's what he was trying to tell me, you know?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of us, we go through so much early trauma. Like we feel so unloved on this earth that just impacts the rest of our lives like crazy. And I kind of want to know their perspective on that. How can we feel that we are loved, that we are protected, that we are guided when we haven't felt that?
He's like talking the whole time you're talking. So I'm trying to follow what you're saying and what he's saying. But he's saying, no, 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 you have it all wrong. He's saying you go through traumas your whole life. You have chaos and confusion and circumstances your whole life. It's your perception of how intense you choose to let those patterns and tendencies of trauma create who you are becoming and who you continue to become. It's not like you're just 50, he's saying, and or 80, and you're just so evolved and know everything. You can go through he's bringing up Archangel Michael saying, you know, the death of a loved one, the death of a spouse that you've shared your whole life with. He's showing me imagery of swans, you know, how swans mate for life, and people can too, and people do too. And how that can be so traumatic, even at the age of your humanness of the 85. It doesn't need to just be when you're a child. It's just, he says, you have more time to influence your behavior patterns from that trauma from when you were a child. So then it becomes more profound. He says, see, life is what you make it.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of life, and maybe this is just for me, but a lot of life seems to be like learning how to cope with a certain level of pain, like a base level of suffering. Is being on earth is like a base level of suffering. And I have a very low pain tolerance, and some people do. And a lot of the times I just go back to suicide always in my head, like, oh, I can always get out. I can always get out. Is that useful, or is that kind of breaking the plans?
He's saying it's part of your plan. It's part of your plan to thought process through it all and why it's the balance. He's saying it's the balance scale. And this is Archangel Michael talking. He says it's the balance scale of your sensory perception and projection. So you were meant for this lifetime to come in, and he's talking directly to you, and have these experiences, and you decided to be this person and have these differentials from other people. It's what you do with those thought processes from the differentials that's your choice. So balancing that chaos for some people is more traumatic than others, which I can totally relate to. You know, it's the deterioration of your ability to be able to guide yourself in positive ways that impacts you and the culture and humanity the most. I'm asking him if that can be like a soul contract too, you know? And he's saying, well, yes, because there's supposed to be crisis. It's not getting stuck in the confusion of your essence and what can make you happy. And I'm telling him it's easier said than done, you know?
That's
And
right.
Yeah, it's easier said than done as a human. And he says, I know. And that's why we have these levels of projection. Okay, so we have us as a soul level, he's saying, and you have your guides and you have your angels. And that's why there's, like I said, the darkest shade of gray into the brightest white light you could ever imagine. That's where you fall into that with your character and what you learn from and what you evolve from. And he says, we help you, we show you, we guide you, but we can only help you so much because of your free will. That's kind of contradictory to what he was saying earlier about free will, how archangels can change it. He says, sometimes we're not meant to change it. He says, sometimes we're not meant to move you. Sometimes it's supposed to be that way, even the hard stuff, because it's not, you're thinking on a smaller human scale. He says of your life here on earth as being one, where your soul is an infinite being of wisdom and growth and growing. So even if you have a short lifespan, it's about contractually, what are you going to control and how are you going to manipulate those tactics into being in your control. That's part of the lesson he's saying. It's part of it all, is learning to evolve and develop yourself.
So is there like a school, like a really, really difficult graduate level school?
He's saying your dad is coming back in again and saying, yes, yes. Like there's all these different education plans. There's all these different schools. He says the word teachings, the word teacher, the word teachings. He says it's existed not because humanity existed it, because it exists in heaven. So you're forever evolving. And this is just like a crash course, practice course in these evolvements. And you come into these different lifetimes. Your dad's explaining right now that you are to go through these circumstances. And he doesn't ever want to hear you say negative things. He doesn't ever want to have you feel bad, but he also understands, he says, that the humanism in you pushes you into these cycles that you just sometimes can't get out of. And then that's when, you get to the other side and you look at your plan and you see how well you did. Nobody judges you. He's saying you judge yourself based on your experience in that lifetime and how you chose to react to it. And it's not always about the big stuff. I have another spirit guide coming through right now, actually, who was my old boss.
Oh.
And he was very much a father figure to me. And I love hearing his voice again. He's saying to me, remember the moments are the movie of your life. Life's a journey, number 16. I didn't mean to repeat that. Sorry. He used to call me number 16 because that was my waitress number.
Oh.
And he says, the moments are the movie of your life. Life's a journey. He says, it's only a lesson. It's not the full circumference of, this is my boss, of it all. He says, there's grandeur into it all. It's getting confusing because now I have like all
They all want to put their 10 cents in. No, it's good. Sometimes it helps to think of life as a movie because you can detach a little bit from it. The first person perspective is very intense. Like,
yeah, and it makes my energy go like this,
man,
Your dad's telling you to stop judging yourself. He's saying that's what you're thinking right now. He wants you to stop it.
why is it easier said than done?
Yeah, why? All right, so I'm directing this to Archangel Michael. Why is it easier said than done? That's very simple. He says, because you're only human.
Oh,
He's saying you need to give yourself a break, people. Give yourself a pat on the back. It's easier to say, he says, the bad stuff about your self than to say the positive things about yourself. No, you don't. He says, you don't need to walk around like a deer in the headlights, like, everything's perfect, everything's great, I'm so positive, when it's not. That's not the expectation that you should set for yourself or anybody around you or anybody that teaches you, Archangel Michael's saying. It just goes back to developing your desire for involvement as well. Do you want, he's asking you to ask the question to yourself, do you want to be stuck? If the answer is no, he says, then it's time. And he's showing me imagery of, you on your knees and he's lifting you up. He says, ask for help and it will be given. Ask for me and I shall be there. Ask for love and you will receive love. Ask for joy and you'll receive joy. Make it be, not by pretending it be, by having it be. And don't give it an option. You choose this foundationally to be your option in your future and forever forward, to not deny the consequences of your actions, but to reciprocate by giving love back to it, which means giving love to yourself and showing yourself love. We forget ourselves as people, he's saying all the time. And when I say we, I mean like you and me is what he's referring to. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe. It's blind faith, he's saying.
Yeah.
He's joking right now because I tell my son, like, I'll believe in Santa Claus until the day I die, as long as I get presents. And even if I don't, I'm too scared not to believe in Santa Claus. So he's saying, not like that, but kind of like that.
All right.
He's saying, don't be afraid to wish. Don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to go for it. Don't be afraid, but it's easier said. I understand. As we see it from the other side, it's also easier to not be said. So they do understand us. That's what I'm getting.
I have some questions written here, but they're basically all the same question. And it's, again, the question of, do we choose to be born on earth and why?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's Archangel Michael again. Yes. Yes, we do. You choose to be you in every lifetime, in the past and to come, as if it was always meant to be. And you ease into it with grace and dignity. It's you that decides how you're going to respond to the actions around you to make you who you are. But it's also supposed to support you in who you are. He says the demented things of people. It's not all crisis. It's not all chaos. It's not all contempt. You are meant to forgive. You are born to forgive. You are, and we are insisting, you are insisting, as in your higher self, to forgive. It's your fear. It's your instincts from ill contempt that stop you. You choose this. You make this. You have the choice to make you who you are and you who you want to be. You always have options, even when you find yourself bountifuless and optionless. There are choices. It's your perception. To shift your perception is a kindness you're giving yourself. That is self-care. There is lots of chaos and contempt, but your motivational factor is that you are not only one, you are one of us all, and we love you.
I have one last question, and it's along the same tone, but I'll ask it anyway. Could we have chosen to incarnate on a different planet as a different being, for example?
And we
Or,
do.
oh,
And we do. And we do, and we do, and we do very consistently. And he's saying there are some beings that consistently don't want to be here. They don't want to come to Earth. They want to go to another form of Earth, their own, Earth. And there are beings that you can recognize that are clearly, he's bringing up what's called a star seed. And people that are occasionally here, but like to replicate themselves elsewhere. And they get annoyed to be here. He's saying, and they don't know why. And they don't know where it's from because they don't have the tools and education to understand their own realities of who they actually are. And it's very sad. He's bringing up how a lot of people do have suicide attempts and do commit suicide because it's just too difficult here on this earth because there's so much crisis. But there's also other planets and other solar systems and other universes that have crisis that's really awful as well, and worse and much worse. And sometimes we choose to go there. It's up to us to decide where we want to be, when and why, he's saying, because of your soul involvement. He says, if I can show you nothing, if I can tell you nothing, if I can teach you nothing, it's not all about you and the physical on this planet. He's saying it's about your soul desires in the whole. So the whole, not just this lifetime, but other lifetimes before. He says it's always a plan. It's how you desire for the plan to function, not just work out. He's making it clear that it's about happiness. It's about happiness too. It's not just supposed to be misery. And again, I'm saying to him, talking to him, I'm saying easier said than done, because your perception is your reality. So what do you do if you're stuck in your perception?
Right.
He's saying easy. Will it not to be? And it is. You'll have it. He says, what do you think manifesting is for? Why are some people so incredibly lucky and others aren't? Because they've figured out the key is by their perception and living it and willing it to be, and make it what is, not just what is in the future, but make it what is now. You have that choice to develop and be, or you can be how you want to be. We don't want you to stay stuck. We want to push you. It's up to you and your free will to see the signs, and we can give you the signs. And sometimes it's in your contract to not see the signs.
I mean, I can definitely relate to what they were saying about that star seed thing. I've heard of that word before. I relate to it, but it's just like a thing. Yeah, I don't even know what it really means.
I kind of just don't know what I was saying. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Sorry. Let me fill you in. So they were talking
I
about
know I said the word starseed because I was like having my own thoughts about starseed, but then like I have no idea what you were just talking about. So I have to watch this back. That's the only way that I can see if I'm even answering the questions. I don't know.
Can you just ask just for me, am I a star seed? Like that's just I want to selfishly know.
My friend Eric says you're a demon. And your dad goes, oh, you know her. He's actually being joked with him. Okay, hold on. Your dad's saying to relax. He's trying to lighten your frequency. He's trying to lighten you right now.
Good luck with that. Sorry.
He's trying to lighten you. Your dad's saying something kind of personal to you. Can I tell you?
Sure, I can cut it out.
He's saying you've been stuck in your head too much lately. He says he understands. He gets it. He knows what that's like, but he doesn't want you to be. And for you, he's saying, for you, this is a choice that you have to make all on your own. He's using your name again that he called you. Sorry. I'm trying to repeat stuff.
That's okay.
He doesn't want you to be sad. He doesn't want you to be sad. He says he knows what's going on. He's telling you it is a lot. He's telling you there's a lot to process. He's saying for your own mind, for your own company, he's saying, don't ever not prevail. So he's trying to tell you to like be positive, Sadie. Like and I'm like, look at you saying that,
Right.
want to be rude to him, but like seriously, like you were her example. And he's saying, I let you down, I know. I let you down, I know. He says, but I'm trying to help you now. I'm trying to help in ways that I haven't been able to before. He's telling you to bring your chin up though, because you need to see it too. And he's talking to me right now directly, just so you know, and he's explaining a little bit about you and about your autism, because I don't quite know a lot about it and like how it works, and he is saying that this was something like she came into in this lifetime. He's talking directly to me, and he's saying, this makes it harder for her, but like it's supposed to be. And he's asking you not to give up. You're supposed to be there. You're supposed to be there in lifetimes to come too, not just this lifetime. You won't be done after this lifetime. He wants you to understand something. He wants you to understand how hard being a human is, how hard it is to maintain your circumstances and be forgiving and kind to yourself. This is interesting. He's saying part of the autistic character is that you are less forgiving of yourself, actually.
Oh,
What makes you such a strong person and being like in this lifetime, because you are, I want to say clinically challenged, because I'm repeating what he's saying, with your perception and how that affects you and how that affects other people more than others and more than others will ever know. So he's saying your strength is all you have. Your strength and your desire is your chemical makeup of what you wanted to become in this life. He says, you can have what you desire, but you have to make up your mind about what you desire, what you want. He says, you have to make up your mind about it because we can't help you. He says, unless you make up your mind. He says, your determination about yourself says it all. You're very determined. It's, he says, there's fleeting moments. There's fleeting moments. So I don't know what any of this means to you. Okay. I'm just like giving you a personal message from him that's off air.
Thanks.
He wants you to know that there is no one foot in and one foot out. He's saying you have no choice. He said it all feet in, all hands in, all the time. And you do. Even when you're feeling like you're not. He's not judging you. He's not. He's not judging you. He's trying to be very comforting to you. He's trying to be very understanding and understandable. But it's tough because he's still very strict, you know.
That's fine.
Are you okay? Do you need a minute?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it has been very hard for me lately with my autism because I don't even understand it, and it makes it difficult to, at this point, I'm kind of afraid to manifest things because I can't enjoy what I manifest. I just suffer from it. So I don't want to want anything. And even doing this like podcast was like a stretch. And it's difficult. I want to do a good job, but at the same time, I'm kind of burning myself out a little bit.
He's
Like,
saying
yeah.
you need to be able to find peace with you can only do what you can do. And he was challenged also with you and understanding your autism and how that affects your perception. And it was something that he could never understand about you that he would have liked to. And he says for himself in this lifetime, it was very challenging because it deteriorated not just you, it deteriorated himself that he wanted to fix. He wanted to make it so things were easier and happier for you. And so that way you could decision make for yourself and your thought process is easier. And he's asking you to forgive yourself. He's saying, forgive yourself for not coping and not understanding in those moments that you don't and surviving through it anyway. He's telling me how strong you are, how incredibly strong you are, and how incredibly forthcoming you are. And he's very, very, very proud of you. So if it's not something he told you in this lifetime, he's making it very clear that he forgives you too, he says. He's saying he's sorry for being short-tempered with you. He didn't understand. And what's hard now is understanding what you need, understanding what goes on in your mind and how you process things. And then suddenly he knows how to do that now, but he couldn't do that here, and so all he can do is give you energy, give you love, talk to you in your mind and tell you have this. He's talking to me now. He's enlightening me a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah. What is he saying?
He's saying that every day for her is it's an emotional uphill challenge. And there's just the hills and valleys you go through emotionally and how sensitive your sensory perception is. So he's saying that your frequency is different than mine.
Oh.
So the way that you take things and feel things is such a actually higher vibrational frequency than mine. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And he says that you get really exhausted, especially after these sessions. You're extremely exhausted. It takes a lot for you perceptionally to make just get through making decisions with things. And you go back and forth a lot, and you're always worried about if you're perceiving it right. Which, just so you know, Sadie, I worry about the same thing. Am I understanding this right? Am I presenting myself correctly? Am I, I never want to hurt anybody. I am such a people pleaser. It's not even funny. It's awful, and it destroys me. it destroys me. I have had issues with suicidal ideation myself. I had my first suicide attempt when I was 13. I took an entire bottle of, at the time, Tylenol, and I went to sleep and didn't tell anybody. Like, how much more serious can you get than that? Because I'm so empathic. When my dad, I told you he was super abusive, when he was telling me things and being hateful to me and telling me that I ruined my family and it was all my fault, guess what I did? Believed him. I believed what he was saying to me. And that was my perception. And at that age, it was too much. It's not normal. It's not okay ever. But there is so many people out there that have one foot in and one foot out. I have to constantly make the choice, Sadie, myself, that I have both feet in every day. I get very obsessive about I'll sit there with my spirit board and my pendulum and I will channel like crazy. And my guides, like, they sometimes just won't let me. They just make the pendulum stop and they're like, enough, enough. Like, you've had enough, but it's because it's just, I want to hear everything's going to be okay. I've
Yeah,
got this, everything's going to be fine. You got this.
I guess it's part of like trying to control things so that we can feel okay, but it's difficult.
For you, because you're at a different frequency, like your dad's saying, okay? It's my struggle times 10 is what your dad is saying. Not to downgrade my struggle. I'm not trying to downgrade my struggle. It's more the extrasensory perception that I don't have that you do. It's your magic. It's your special gift. It's your superpower. You know, Unfortunately, you did choose for it in this lifetime. I don't want to say unfortunately, though. I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it like that. I mean it like, unfortunately, that it's a struggle a lot more than it can be for other people. And he says the best way for people to be able to relate to you is to educate them, to help them understand like your struggle and how you perceive things, because people don't know, he says, unless you tell them. And he doesn't, he says that it's not that you forget that, it's just that you worry so much about what people think and how they're perceiving you. And he says that it's just mind boggling and struggling, and just the amount of thoughts that go through your head a day. It's like thoughts on steroids, and it's overwhelming, incredibly, incredibly overwhelming. He says even this whole experience for you, he's saying, is very, very overwhelming. And I have to agree with him. I'm very
Yeah.
proud of you. Just like putting yourself out there and just deciding to do this because, you know, Sadie, the thing I've learned is that like it's not just about me, it's about other people. I've put out there, there's only a couple of times I've been able to talk about certain things I've been through because it's so emotional for me to talk about. Like one of them was like I was human trafficked. Like that is it's very hard to talk about because not only is it completely humiliating and embarrassing, and I don't want to be remembering it. It's like when you say it, it's almost like real. It's true. And then it starts to define you. Like that's how I always feel. But you can help other people. I got so many letters from people telling me how much some of the channelings that I've done have helped. You don't know who you're hitting and how that's going to have enough chain reaction and who it's going to affect. It's not about the number of views, and it's not about what comes out of this. You're never going to let me down. I'm always going to be happy to just spend time with you and hang out with you, and it it's more than just me, putting yourself out there vulnerably. I mean, honestly, you've been through the worst of it. You've put the most vulnerable things about yourself out there for years with P, you know?
It's true.
Mhm. So you've had practice with this, and she's not sitting, maybe she needs to be sitting next to you, but like she's not. So to like go at it alone and do this like just with me, it's so incredibly emotional. It's part of your soul's journey. You're meant to do this.
I just feel bad that I'm crying because like so much of this, I don't know if I want to publish a lot of it because I feel like me crying, but I cry so much like in my regular life that it's hard to
Heaven
stop.
forbid that people see you, that you have emotion. Your dad just died last year, Sadie. Like, this is not easy. But you said like a year, August 3rd. Like, I mean, don't think that this isn't still raw for you. There are things that are coming out for me that I'm almost 41, August 16th. Remember my birthday. Like you're supposed to send me the Italian man, remember, with the bow on his head and tons of flowers, hand it to me and say, I'm here.
Can I send you something that's easier to package?
No. It's just like, this is life, man. It is hard. It is not easy. The tough stuff is hard. The tough stuff is hard.
Just like to give you context, this bra is soaked. The tough stuff is hard.
I can see it. I can see it. But maybe
That's disgusting. Sorry.
it's okay.
So, but thank you for joining us for another episode. And be sure to check out Abbie. Her website is down there if you want to book a private reading. And we'll see you on the next episode.
All right. Bye.